So my neighbor knocked on my door about 3 months ago. She is 58 years old, recently retired, genuinely active by most reasonable definitions of the word. She walks her dog every morning. She eats well. She is not someone who ignores her health. But she sat down at my kitchen table and said something that I have heard in various forms from dozens of people in their 50s and 60s over the years. She said, "I wake up and my body feels like it needs 20 minutes just to remember how to work properly. Stiff hips before she even got to the bathroom, shoulders that clicked when she reached for the kettle, a lower back that needed coaxing into cooperation before it would let her stand up straight. And the thing that bothered her most was not the stiffness itself. It was that she had simply accepted it. She had started treating it as an inevitable feature of being 58, something that just happened now, like needing reading glasses or not understanding new slang. And I want to talk about that assumption today. Because it is wrong, not slightly wrong, fundamentally, demonstrably, research-backed wrong. And the evidence suggesting it is wrong has been sitting in plain sight for years, while the wellness industry has been busy selling expensive solutions to a problem that has a free one. What I'm going to share with you today is a 12-minute morning routine built specifically around what the physiology of the body over 50 actually needs, not what looks impressive on a gym floor, not what sells supplement subscriptions, just what the biology says your body requires in the morning to function well, protect itself from injury, maintain strength, and age on your terms rather than its own default settings. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I am a physiotherapist with over 2 decades of clinical experience working with adults in midlife and beyond, and I have become genuinely passionate about translating what the research actually says into things that real people can do in real kitchens and real bedrooms without equipment, without a gym membership, and without rearranging their entire morning around it. If today's video is useful to you, please hit the like button and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds and it helps this content reach people who are quietly accepting limitations they absolutely do not have to accept. Right. Let us talk about what is actually happening in your body after 50, because understanding the why makes the what significantly easier to commit to. Your cartilage, the cushioning tissue inside your joints, does not have its own blood supply. It gets its nutrients through a process called imbibition, essentially absorbing fluid from the surrounding tissue when it is compressed and released through movement. During sleep, your joints are largely still. By morning, the cartilage is relatively dehydrated and nutrient depleted compared to how it will be after 20 minutes of movement. That is a significant part of why the first steps of the morning feel so different from steps taken an hour later. The second thing happening is a gradual but measurable change in the behavior of your fascia, the connective tissue that wraps around every muscle, organ, and structure in your body like a continuous internal bodysuit. Fascia becomes less pliable with reduced movement, with dehydration, and with the normal hormonal shifts of midlife. By morning, after 7 or 8 hours of relative stillness, your fascia has tightened around your muscles like a slightly shrunken jumper. That restriction is experienced as stiffness, as reduced range of motion, as the feeling that your body is operating with less than its full permission. The third thing is the accelerating loss of muscle mass that begins in earnest around the age of 50 and progresses at roughly 1 to 2% per year if it is not actively countered. This process, called sarcopenia, is not inevitable in the sense that your genetics have locked you into a specific outcome. It is responsive, it responds to stimulus, and the single most powerful stimulus for slowing or reversing it is resistance-based movement, not marathon running, not spin classes, resistance work that asks your muscles to work against load and then recover and rebuild stronger. The reason this matters in the context of a morning routine specifically is that what you do in the first 30 minutes after waking sets the physiological tone for the rest of the day. Your cortisol levels are naturally elevated in the early morning, which is not the stress response people often assume it is. Morning cortisol is a mobilizing signal. It is your body saying, here is the energy to get moving. And when you respond to that signal with movement, even gentle, purposeful movement, you are working with your biology rather than against it. Your body after 50 does not need 20 minutes to remember how to work. It needs about 12 minutes of the right input. And the difference between those two things is enormous. Now, before we go through the routine itself, I want to hear from you, because the question I get asked more than almost any other on this channel is not what to do. It is how to make it stick. So tell me in the comments right now, what time do you wake up? And what does the first 10 minutes of your morning currently look like? We will come back to your responses later in the video, because the patterns I see in those answers tell me a great deal about where the real barrier to a consistent morning practice actually sits for most people. The routine has 4 phases: 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 12 minutes total, no equipment, no floor work if your joints make that uncomfortable, modifications available for every element. Before you do anything else, before you reach for your phone or your coffee or even fully open your eyes in a bright room, you spend 2 minutes doing something that feels almost too simple to be worth mentioning. Slow, deliberate breathing combined with gentle spinal movement. Sit on the edge of your bed, feet flat on the floor, and for 2 minutes you do the following. On each inhale, you gently lift your chest and extend your spine slightly, what physiotherapists call a gentle thoracic extension. On each exhale, you round slightly forward, chin toward chest, feeling the gentle lengthening across your upper back. Nothing dramatic, nothing that requires flexibility you may not currently have, just slow, rhythmic movement of the spine in response to breath. This does 3 things simultaneously. It begins the rehydration process in your spinal discs, which behave similarly to cartilage and similarly benefit from gentle compression and release after prolonged stillness. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system through slow breathing, which reduces the cortisol spike of waking to a productive level rather than an anxiety-generating one. And it gently begins waking up the deep, stabilizing muscles of your core, which are the first muscles to switch off during prolonged inactivity and the last ones most people think to address. The research on diaphragmatic breathing combined with spinal mobility in older adults is consistent and honestly underappreciated. Studies show measurable improvements in spinal range of motion, reductions in morning pain scores, and improvements in balance and postural stability over as little as 4 weeks of daily practice. 2 minutes, edge of the bed, that is all this phase asks. Your hips and your shoulders are the 2 joints where reduced mobility after 50 creates the widest cascade of downstream problems. Tight hips change your gait, increase load on your lower back, reduce your balance, and limit your ability to perform almost every functional movement in daily life. Tight shoulders affect your posture, your neck, your upper back, and your capacity to carry, reach, and lift without compensation patterns that eventually cause pain somewhere else in the chain. 3 minutes here. Still seated if necessary, though standing is fine. For the hips, you are doing seated or standing hip circles. Slow, full range, both directions, 10 each side. Then gentle hip flexor lengthening, which if you are standing means simply stepping 1 foot back slightly and feeling the gentle stretch through the front of the opposite hip. Hold for 20 seconds each side. If you are seated, you can achieve a similar effect by crossing 1 ankle over the opposite knee and gently leaning forward from the hips. For the shoulders, you are doing arm circles, slow and full range, both directions. Then a door frame or wall chest opener where you place 1 hand on a wall at shoulder height, elbow slightly bent, and gently rotate your body away until you feel a stretch across the front of the shoulder and chest. 20 seconds each side. These movements are not warming you up for exercise in the traditional sense. They are restoring the functional range of motion that your fascia and joint capsules restricted overnight. You are essentially returning your body to its operating range before you ask it to do anything that day. The research on hip mobility, specifically in adults over 50, shows consistent associations between reduced hip mobility and increased risk of falls, lower back pain, and knee osteoarthritis progression. 3 minutes of daily mobility work is not a luxury, it is maintenance. This is the most important phase for the long-term health of your body after 50, and I say that knowing it is also the phase most people are tempted to skip or abbreviate because it feels harder than the others. 4 minutes of resistance work, no weights required. Your body weight is sufficient stimulus when applied correctly. You are doing 3 movements: wall push-ups, a sit to stand from your chair, and a modified glute bridge if you are comfortable on the floor, or a standing hip extension holding the back of a chair if you are not. Wall push-ups work your chest, shoulders, and triceps while also engaging your core stabilizers. Not a beginner movement in disguise, a genuinely effective upper body resistance stimulus that can be progressively made harder by moving your feet further from the wall as you get stronger. The sit to stand from your chair is perhaps the most functionally important exercise that exists for adults over 50. It directly trains the quadriceps and glutes, the muscle groups most responsible for your ability to get up from a chair, climb stairs, get in and out of a car, and maintain the kind of lower body strength that is most predictive of independence and fall prevention in later life. Research consistently shows that sit-to-stand performance is one of the strongest predictors of all-cause mortality in adults over 50. You are not just doing squats, you are doing the exercise most directly associated with how long and how well you will live. 10 repetitions of each movement, slow and controlled, feeling the muscle working rather than rushing through the repetition. 4 minutes covers this comfortably with brief transitions between movements. Balance deteriorates after 50 in a way that most people do not notice until it becomes a problem. And when it becomes a problem, it becomes a serious one. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related death in adults over 65, and the balance capacity that prevents falls is trainable. Meaningfully, measurably trainable with daily practice. 3 minutes here, simple single leg standing, holding a wall or counter initially if needed. 30 seconds each leg, repeated twice. Then a simple heel-to-toe walk along a line on your floor or kitchen tiles, 10 steps forward, 10 steps back. These are not exercises that look impressive. They are exercises that work. The research on balance training in older adults is among the most consistent in the entire field of exercise science. Daily balance practice reduces fall risk, improves proprioception, which is your body's awareness of where it is in space, and maintains the neural pathways responsible for rapid postural correction when you stumble or misstep. Think of it this way. The question of whether you will fall at 70 or 75 is being answered in part by what you are doing at 55 and 60. The neuromuscular pathways that catch you when you slip need to be maintained through use. 3 minutes a day is the cost of maintaining them. I want to be honest with you about what 30 days of this routine will and will not do, because this channel does not deal in promises that the evidence cannot support. What it will do, based on consistent research across similar protocols in adults over 50, is measurably reduce morning stiffness for the majority of people who do it consistently. It will begin the process of rebuilding and maintaining the muscle mass that sarcopenia is otherwise gradually removing. It will improve hip and shoulder mobility in ways that make daily movement feel noticeably easier. It will begin improving balance in ways that matter for your safety. And it will establish a morning physiological state that supports better energy, better posture, and better movement quality throughout the rest of your day. What it will not do is replace the need for broader physical activity throughout your week. This routine is a foundation, not a complete program. You still need to walk. You still need to move your body through its full range regularly across the day. You still benefit enormously from strength sessions that go beyond 12 minutes if your capacity allows. But here is what I have seen in clinical practice more times than I can count. The people who build the small daily habit first are the people who eventually build the larger ones, because 12 minutes of success every morning does something that no amount of motivation or intention can replicate. It gives you evidence that your body responds, evidence that you are not too old, too stiff, or too far gone, evidence that the things you do consistently in the morning actually change how your afternoon feels. My neighbor, the one who sat at my kitchen table 3 months ago talking about her body needing 20 minutes to remember how to work, sent me a message last week. She said the morning stiffness is mostly gone. She said she feels ready when she gets up rather than reluctant. She said it took about 3 weeks before she noticed it, and then she could not stop noticing it. 12 minutes, 30 days, the research says your body will respond. Your job is simply to let it. Let me know in the comments whether you already have a morning movement practice, what has worked for you and what has not, because the conversation that happens in the comments here is genuinely one of the most useful things about this community. Every experience shared helps someone else figure out where to start. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.